My name is Jerry, and I left MAGA. Welcome back to my channel. I just dropped a video recently. I'm starting a whole new project, and I'm going to be explaining all the things that I found that led me out of MAGA. But before I can really get into the stories, I got to make sure that people understand who the players are. So, the first member that I'm bringing to you from my gallery of rogues, and I'm utilizing the William Branham Historical Research site because it has so much excellent information. It's just one of my many resources. But anyway, today we're going to talk about Jim Jones, and I'm just going to go ahead and read this off. James Warren Jones, born 1931, died 1978, was a charismatic religious cult leader who, with his converts, performed a mass unaliving in Jonestown, Guyana. He started his career as a Methodist minister with a Pentecostal background and converted fully to Pentecostalism in the early 1950s. Shortly before forming People's Temple, Jones was officially ordained into William Branham's latter rain version of the message as a faith healer by Joseph Matson Bozay on behalf of the Independent Assemblies of God, led by A.W. Rasmussen. Prior to his ordination, Jones preached at the message affiliated Laurel Street Tabernacle, dedicated by message promoter Roy H. Weed and supporter Lester Sumrall. Now, I just want to throw a little nugget in here at the moment. Roy Weed had a son named Doug Weed, who was arrested for filtering Russian money into the 2016 Republican campaign. I will come back to Doug Weed later. He is definitely in my gallery of rogues. So we have this quote from Jim Jones. I know there are things about the message that you may not see, but it is God. Now, as all this unfolds, you're going to better understand what this message is and how it's affecting us today. But that's why I'm starting with Jim. Everybody knows this most infamous cult leader. So, Jones' evangelistic and faith healing career was launched in 1956 by William Branham and Joseph Matson Bozay at the Cadle Tabernacle. William Branham visited People's Temple many times between 1956 and 57, and Jones became a leader in the movement by becoming a voice of healing evangelist. Jones quickly rose to a leadership role within the movement, organizing and hosting healing revivals at locations in and outside his home state of Indiana. There's a whole lot to that too. In the fall of 1956, Jones was the host of a revival in Chicago, Illinois, from October 1st to October 4th. Branham recognized Jones as the primary host of the revival. Now, Chicago has a lot to do with this, and we'll get there. Here's this quote. Speaking in Chicago, Illinois, quote, happy to see today is our host pastor, Brother James Jones from Indianapolis, back there, end quote. William Branham, 1956, October 2nd, Father. The hour has come in Chicago, Illinois. William Branham is going to be another one of the characters that I will be covering pretty soon because there's a lot that pivots off this dude. But anyway, back to the article. After the 1957 Christian Fellowship Convention hosted by Jim Jones and the People's Temple, Voice of Healing severed ties with William Branham for several months. Branham apparently angered Jones and several other Voice of Healing evangelists, and an open letter to William Branham was signed by several evangelists and distributed. When a copy was sent to the editors of the Voice of Healing, Gordon Lindsay, I will get back to him, was forced to respond by launching an internal investigation. This letter and investigation were announced in an article entitled Christian Fellowship Convention Replies to Open Letter to William Branham, end quote. Another injected quote here. The fact that Evangelist William Branham was the main speaker at the Christian Fellowship Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana, June 10th through 14th, 1957, caused many brethren to be deeply concerned regarding the veracity of the statements in the open letter addressed to him and circulated widely. The convention decided upon an investigation in the matter in order to be able to give correct information to those who have been disturbed by this and other letters. So it was a cleanup operation. Back to the article. The contents of the letter are not included in this article, but the article does describe several ministers who were greatly offended by whatever William Branham did or said at the convention. The last paragraph of the article, however, could give clues as to what they were offended by. Apparently, several evangelists recognized that William Branham's sermons strayed from the gospel and stated as much in the letter. The Voice of Healing editors argued that Branham's ministry could be confirmed by his gift rather than his misrepresentation of the gospel. Another interjection here. We are convinced that there is no truth in the insinuation that Reverend Branham has deviated from his normal, gracious, positive ministry of the gospel, confirmed of God with signs following. Rather, his supernatural ministry gift is more than fruitful of mighty miracles than ever before. Wow, talk about a whitewash. So, after this 1957 convention, Jim Jones and the People's Temple parted ways with William Branham. According to Jones' own account of parting ways with William Branham, several evangelists approached Jones at the Claypool Hotel describing some sort of altercation. Jones also did not fully describe what happened, but clearly described being upset. According to Jones, William Branham did not want to, quote, preach the truth of the Bible, end quote, which seems to match that others ministers apparently said in the letter. Let's see, it says here, some are listening. They don't tell you the truth because the Black Book is the easiest gravy train that they've ever been on. Yet Allen, that'd be A.A. Allen of the Pentecostal evangelist, came to me. Oral Roberts, Pentecostal evangelist, and we're going to get to him, spoke this. Billy Graham gave right to us. We're going to cover. Actually, Billy Graham is who I'm doing next. Anyway, Archie James, Jack Arnold Beam, and me in Claypool Hotel said, I don't believe a thing in that Bible hardly, but he said it's the way to make a living. Billy Graham, who I prophesied his death, Billy Graham rather said his head would be. I said he'd lose his head. His head came off in Texas. Editorial note: the reference is to William Branham, an evangelical preacher and acquaintance of Jim Jones during the Temple's Indianapolis days. Branham died in an auto accident on Christmas Eve, 1965, in Texas, but was not. His head was not taken off. He said, "You can't preach the truth about the Bible." He said, tape cuts out about 3 seconds. Preach reincarnation. You cannot preach the truth about the Bible. You will be in trouble, I said. I choose to preach the truth. He said, well, I'll be around while you be in trouble. Well, I'm still here, and his head is cut off his body. And this is from a Jim Jones transcript. And I think it's, now, I'm just going to put a fun fact out here. The Jim Jones transcripts are all listed as Q and a number. And William Branham's favorite number was 17, which also equates to the letter Q if you count the letters in the alphabet. And then there's that whole MAGA thing and their affection with the number 17 and their affection for the letter Q. So again, those are going to be things that I will address at a later date. Almost done with this article. Towards the end of Jones' account of what happened, Jones said that he prophesied concerning Branham's death. Jones apparently prophesied that Branham would lose his head, which he claimed to have been fulfilled by Branham's horrific automobile accident that led to his death in 1965. This also seems to match the statements made in the open letter to William Branham. Not only Jones, but several other ministers were warning Branham of death and destruction for his apparent abandonment of the gospel. This opens up a rather interesting possibility that we can investigate later. Anyway, it is hoped that other misstatements in this letter were due to misinformation, but we are constrained to believe that one statement, repeated several times, was a serious breach. We refer to warnings of death and destruction forecast against Brother Branham, and we wonder whether the writer or writers would circulate such remarks if they had to do it over again. So the final paragraph here. After the Jonestown Massacre in 1978, Voice of God recordings and other latter-rain Voice of Healing organizations have gone to great lengths to erase their involvement with Jim Jones and the People's Temple. By combining the advertisements of the meetings that leaders in the message held with People's Temple with their lists of recordings and transcripts, however, we are able to determine which recordings and transcripts were removed. The Voice of God recordings, for example, is missing dozens of recordings of confirmed revivals that William Branham held with Jones. And there's a list here, and I'll just scroll through it. I'll drop the link to this video, or to this web page, in the description of this video. There's a lot more supplemental information at the bottom. And I will be referring relatively frequently back to William Branham Historical Research, because that's where I got a lot of my deconstruction information. All right, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please feel free to share. Give it a thumbs up if you found it informative. There's that whole subscribe thing if you're so inclined. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourself. Mental health matters. Rest well and get plenty of water.